Started in time. Okay, so you guys now should be good up through number 66 in the packet. We are going to cover one more set of topics today. Then we'll take one more hour to finish up this packet on Thursday. Then we have just a couple of days of stuff to tie up loose ends. Talk about variation and stuff like that a little bit. And then we're looking at probably having a, let's see, what are we looking at? Most likely having a unit test coming up possibly Friday. Getting the unit test to go home for the weekend with you. I'm thinking that sounds like a good plan.
Like we take it home.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's my way of saying I want your weekends too. What we're going to look at today, or for this hour I should say, is something called dual slope truss. It is kind of a new day. Last hour was a long time ago. A dual slope truss is where there's a different slope on each side of the truss. So let's say that this here is a 12-12 slope and a 4-12 slope. If we're given the runs on each, so let's say this is H here, and we'll call this X and Y. If we're given the runs X and Y, it's real easy to find the height. And of course, there's going to be two different lengths. We'll call this J1 and this J2 over here. If we're given X and Y, this is real easy. But you know me that I'm not going to make it easy. Let's say I'm not given X and Y, but we are given that this is a 40-foot span. Can we find X and Y? What's that you say? Yes, we can. A very good answer. Yes, we can find X and Y. What do we know about X and Y? We know that X plus Y equals 40. So that's where we start. Now we need to figure out values for X and Y, or something we can put in for X and Y to figure out what one or both of them are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate each side of this, each slope. So I'm going to start out with this triangle right here. I pull that out. I know that this is H here, right? This is a 12-12 slope, and that this is X, correct? So that gives me that 12-12, my slope, is equal to H over X, correct? Yes? No?
Yes.
All right. So we cross multiply here. 12 times X is 12X. 12 times H is 12H. So 12X equals 12H. Yeah, we divide by the 12, divide out the 12s, X equals H. There's the second equation. Now, for those of you that paid attention the last few weeks of last semester, this should start to be looking suspiciously like systems of equations, because it is. We have a triangle over here. This one. This height is still H. Now this is Y, and the slope is 412. So this gives us 4 over 12 equals H over Y. And if we cross multiply, 4 times Y is 4Y. 12 times H is 12H. So that gives us 4Y equals 12H. If we divide out the 4, we get that Y equals 3H. What does this tell us? Well, we can now solve this system of equations by substitution. I'm going to replace X with what? H. X equals H. So I'm going to put H in instead of X. I'm going to replace Y with 3H. That adds up to 40. Now it's just one variable. What's h plus 3h? 4h equals 40. And then we divide by 4, h equals 10. So now that we have h equals 10, x equals 8, so x equals 10. Y equals 3h, so 3 times 10 is 30. And now, of course, we have this triangle, so you can find J1, 10 squared plus 10 squared, square rooted. You can find J2, square root of 10 squared plus 30 squared. So it's all downhill from there. So I want you guys to try one of your notes. This was a relatively simple example. I made sure it came out to nice even numbers. So let's try one in your notes. Let's give this one a 2012 slope. Let's make this one a 412 slope. And a 36-foot overall span. Well, that was really stupid of me, wasn't it? There. Try that in your notes. See if you can find X, Y, and H. And we're just going to assume you can find J1 and J2. Let's just get you started here. Okay, the part that I'm sure you probably already have, but I'm going to put it up here anyway, is X plus Y equals 36. How many of you got that far?
Yeah.
So if you didn't get that far, you're struggling a bit. We need to talk. Okay. Next. This triangle right here. We know it has a 2012 slope. This is h, this is x. 20 over 12 equals h over x. 20x, 12h. 20x equals 12h. We're going to divide by 20. So this might be where you had the problem, Zach, because you had the numbers backwards there.
Yeah, but I divided them.
So x equals 0.6h. Or 3/5, either one. So I'll put that up here. How many of you had that? X equals 0.6h or 3/5 h. You actually had it? Cool. I'm proud of you. So now this triangle has a 412 slope. Go back here. This is h, this is y. So 4 over 12 equals h over y. 4y equals 12h. Dividing by 4 gives us that y equals 3h. How many of you had y equals 3h? So now what? Replace x with 0.6h. Replace y with 3h equals 36. .6h plus 3h is 3.6h equals 36. And this is going to be a shocker. Divided by 3.6, what's h equal again? H equals 10. Divided by 3.6, 36 divided by 3.6, h equals 10. Because 3.6h equals 36, so to figure out what h is, you got to divide by 3.6. So now that you have h equals 10, Kyle, Now that we have h equals 10, to find out x is 0.6 times h. What is 0.6 times 10? Say 6. Y is 3 times h. What's 3 times 10? 30. Does that add up to our total span? Yes, it does. Now, of course, I'm assuming you can find J1 as being the square root of 6 squared plus 10 squared, and J2 as being the square root of 30 squared plus 10 squared, correct? Good deal. How's everybody feeling? Fine as a frog here, split in two and twice as shiny?
Oh, you bet.
Okay. A slight variation of this type of problem would be to add unmatched heel heights. Why not?
Alright, I got one problem with this.
Your what hurts?
It looks like shit.
So, what we have here, this here is going to be, let's put in a 24-inch heel height there. And here we're going to put in an 8-inch heel height. Actually, you know what? Let's put in a 10-inch heel height just to make you happy. So, go a 36-foot span again. Find X, Y, and H. Anybody have any suggestions as to where to start? No? Oh, come on now. I'll give you a hint. X plus Y equals 36. Is that a good hint?
That's awesome.
That's great? Okay. I'm guessing most of you could have come up with that on yourself.
I don't know.
Okay, now what? Well, it's the same thing, only we got the heel height, so we can't take the full triangle. We're taking this triangle right here. This is X. The question is, what is this here? H minus 2. We got to convert it into feet. Since X is going to be in feet, we converted the 24 into feet. So H minus 2. You had the right idea. So it's H minus, I would normally do 24 over 12, which I would then reduce to 2. So what we have is this triangle here. We have X and H minus 2, and it is a 16/12 slope. So 16 over 12 equals H minus 2 over X. 16 times X is 16X. 12 times H minus 2 is 12 times H minus 2. Now, of course, we need to do a little work here. I have to distribute my 12. 12 times H is 12H. 12 times negative 2 is a negative 24. So 16X equals 12H minus 24. Now, here's the tricky part. We got to divide by 16. Remember all the way back last semester when we divided a polynomial by a number? Did 12H over 16. 12 over 16 reduces to 3/4, so that's 3/4 H. Minus 24 over 16 is 1.5. I'm going to pause. Everybody see where that comes from?
Nope.
You had to divide the 16 divided out here to give us the X. Then you had to divide this whole side here by 16. You're dividing an algebraic number. So you divide the 12H by 16. 12H over 16. 12 over 16 just reduces to 3/4 H. That's where we get the 3/4 H. Then minus the 24 over 16, which is just 1.5. Remember, you divide each piece separately. You divide this piece, then you divide that piece. So X equals 3/4 H minus 1.5. That's our second equation. Anybody totally, completely freaking lost right now? Trying not to be? Okay. Well, the good news is we got one more side to go, so hopefully some of those things will become a little more clear on this other side. So here, this is y. This here is what? H minus 10 over 12 because we got to convert it into feet. Okay? So down here, this is y. This is going to be h minus, I'm going to reduce the 10 twelfths to 5/6 to make it a little simpler. What slope was this? 4/12. So we've got 4 over 12 equals h minus 5/6 over y. So 4 times y is 4y. 12 times h minus 5/6. So 4y equals 12 times h minus 5/6. Step 1. Distribute the 12. 12 times h is 12h. 12 times a negative 5/6 is a negative 10. Still got the 4y. And then divide by 4, cancels out the 4. We got y here. Dividing by 4 over here, remember we divide each piece by 4. 12h divided by 4 is 3h. Negative 10 divided by 4, negative 2.5. So y equals 3h minus 2.5. So what that means for us is that this equation becomes, instead of x, we're going to put in 3/4 h minus 1.5. Instead of y, we're going to put in 3h minus 2.5. And that equals 36. Are we having fun yet? So we've got the 3/4 h and the 3h makes 3 3/4 h. Negative 1.5 and negative 2.5 make negative 4. So now we're going to add 4. So 3 3/4 h equals 40. And then divide by 3 3/4. So h equals what?
No, it's not.
10 2/3, yes. 10 2/3 feet, or 10 foot 8 inches. So h is 10 foot 8 inches. I'm putting in parentheses here, 10 2/3 feet. Why is that important? Well, because now to find x, x is 3/4 h minus 1.5. I'll do it right here. So 3/4 times 10 2/3 minus 1 1/2. 10 2/3 is going to be made into an improper fraction. 10 times 3 is 30 plus 2 is 32 over 3. 3 and 3 cross cancel, give me 1 and 1. 4 and 32 cross cancel, give me 1 and 8. So that's just 8 minus 1.5 is 6.5 feet for x. X is 6.5 feet. I'm not sensing any excitement from the group. That's kind of exciting stuff. Now, of course, we could find our 6 foot 6 inches, I suppose we want to put. That means, of course, y has to be 29 foot 6 inches, correct? Well, let's double check. Y is 3h minus 2.5. So y is 3 times 10 2/3 minus 2 1/2. So this becomes 3 over 1 times 32 over 3. 3's cross cancel, giving us 32. Minus 2.5 is 29 1/2, or 29 foot 6 inches. It all works out. Yay! I'm sensing a total and complete lack of excitement from you guys. I am. I'm a little hurt.
My nose is
Okay, at this point, you guys should be able to do up to number 78. Well, yeah, we may have to go over it again at some point.